Hey there. Tonight, we're going back, way back, to a time when a single mistake in timing could mean the difference between glorious victory and catastrophic slaughter. You think coordinating a meeting is hard? Imagine coordinating 10,000 men across miles of hostile terrain, with no watches, no phones, no radios, just drums, horns, and the sun crawling across an indifferent sky. Before you drift off tonight, I want you to walk in the sandals of someone who actually lived this. Not a general lounging in a tent. Not a king issuing orders from a throne. You. A signal officer in the Persian army, 490 BCE. Your entire job is to make sure thousands of warriors attack at exactly the right moment. Get it wrong? Your friends die. Your family back home becomes slaves. Your name becomes a curse word. So, dim the lights, get comfortable. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. Because tonight, you're going to appreciate something you've never thought about before. The humble clock. Now, let's go back to when time itself was your enemy. You wake before dawn in the Persian camp, your body already tense with the weight of tomorrow's battle. The other signal officers are still sleeping, but you cannot. Your father trained you for this role since you were 7 years old, teaching you to read the sun's position within a finger's width of accuracy. Now, at 23, you are responsible for coordinating the left flank's attack. 2,000 soldiers whose lives depend on your timing. The tent smells of leather oil and anxiety. Outside, you hear the low murmur of soldiers preparing breakfast fires, the clank of bronze being sharpened, the nervous laughter of men who might die tomorrow. Your commanding officer, a scarred veteran named Artabanus, assigned you this duty 3 days ago. He looked you in the eye and said only, "The sun will be your only commander tomorrow." You roll up your sleeping mat and step outside. The sky is that peculiar grey-blue that comes just before sunrise, when shadows are still thick, but birds have begun their morning songs. You walk to the edge of the camp where you have a clear view eastward, toward the rising sun and toward the Greek positions 2 miles distant. Your hands are shaking slightly. You clench them into fists. Weakness is not permitted. Your grandfather coordinated the attack at Thermopylae. Your bloodline is timing itself. You stand there, watching the horizon slowly lighten and begin your mental calculations. In approximately 4 hours, when the sun reaches its zenith, that is when your flank must attack. Not before, not after, exactly then. By the time the sun fully breaks the horizon, you have walked the perimeter of your section 3 times, mentally rehearsing every signal. Your section controls exactly 2,047 soldiers. You know this number because you counted them yourself yesterday, twice. These men are arranged in 8 formations, spread across half a mile of terrain, hidden behind a ridge that shields them from Greek scouts. Each formation has a junior signal officer who reports to you. You met with them last night, going over the sequence repeatedly until your throat was raw. First signal, prepare to advance. Second signal, close ranks. Third signal, charge. Between the first and third signal, exactly the time it takes the sun to move 1 hand-width across the sky, roughly 15 minutes by the measurements you have practiced since childhood. But here is the nightmare that kept you awake. What if clouds obscure the sun? What if dust from the center divisions blocks your view? What if the Greeks attack first, throwing off the entire timetable? Your mind spins through contingencies, backup plans, alternative signals. Your father's voice echoes in your memory. A signal officer with a clouded mind is more dangerous than an enemy spy. You return to your command post, a small rise where you have planted a staff with your unit's banner. From here, you can see 6 of your 8 formations. The other 2 are visible to your deputy, stationed 200 paces south. You check your equipment again. Horn, whistle, signal flags in red and yellow, the bronze mirror for long-distance flashing, spare leather cords in case anything breaks. Everything is secured, checked, ready. Around you, the army is slowly waking into organized chaos. Commanders bark orders. Horses whinny. Someone is singing a hymn to Ahura Mazda, the soldiers' voices rising in unison, asking for victory and mercy. The sun climbs higher, and with it, your anxiety. You have now entered the waiting period, that terrible stretch of hours when preparation is complete, but action has not yet begun. This is when soldiers gamble, tell jokes, write letters they hope their families will never have to read. But you cannot rest. Every quarter hour you perform a sun check, using the shadow stick method your father taught you, a vertical staff planted in level ground, its shadow measured against calibrated marks. Your deputy approaches, a younger officer named Darius, nephew of a minor noble, eager and untested. He is sweating more than the morning heat justifies. The men are asking when, he says, his voice carefully controlled. You can hear the fear underneath. His first major battle. Yours too, if you are honest, though you have trained for this your entire life. When the sun tells us, you reply, keeping your voice flat, authoritative. You cannot let him see your own doubts. Review the signals with your formations again. Make certain every squad leader knows the sequence. He nods and hurries away. You watch him go, remembering your father's words. Half of coordination is confidence. The men must believe you know exactly what you are doing, even when you are terrified. Around you, the atmosphere is thickening with anticipation. Scouts return from the Greek lines with reports. They are preparing too, sharpening spears, donning their bronze armor. The Greeks have their own timing methods. You wonder what they are, whether they are better than yours. The thought makes your stomach clench. Somewhere across that dusty plain, there is probably a Greek signal officer having the exact same fears you are having right now. You force yourself to eat some bread and dried fish, though your throat feels tight. Hunger will cloud your judgment later. You need to be sharp. The sun continues its inexorable climb. 3 hours until zenith. 3 hours until thousands of lives depend on your ability to read the sky. 2 hours until zenith. The Persian commander-in-chief, Datis himself, makes his rounds through the camp, and his entourage passes within 50 paces of your position. You immediately stand at attention, fist over heart in salute. He does not stop to speak with you. You are far too junior. But one of his senior officers, a battle-hardened captain with grey in his beard, pauses and looks directly at you. "Signal officer," he says, his voice like gravel. "The left flank depends on you. We attack in waves. Center first, then flanks. If your timing is off by even 5 minutes, the center will be exposed and slaughtered. Do you understand?" Your mouth goes dry, but you manage to reply. "I understand, sir. We will attack precisely at zenith." He studies you for a long moment, and you wonder what he sees. A frightened young man pretending to be competent, or someone worthy of trust. Finally, he nods once and continues walking. The brief interaction leaves you shaking. 5 minutes. The difference between 5 minutes could mean thousands of dead Persian soldiers. Your comrades, your childhood friends from the training academy, all depending on your ability to read the sun. You return to your shadow stick measurements, but now your hands are trembling slightly. You clasp them behind your back, forcing steadiness. Breathe, calculate, trust your training. Your father coordinated 3 major battles without losing the timing once. His father before him. This is in your blood. This is what you were born to do. The camp's atmosphere is changing. The jokes have stopped. Men are checking their weapons with grim silence. Some pray quietly, lips moving without sound. others stare at nothing, faces blank, already mentally preparing for violence. You can smell the fear in the air, mixed with the dust and leather and bronze. It is almost time. The sun climbs higher, indifferent to the slaughter it will soon witness. 1 hour remains. You climb to the highest point of your small rise and survey your entire section. From here, the organization becomes clear. 8 distinct formations, each comprising roughly 250 soldiers, arranged in a staggered pattern designed to flow around obstacles in the terrain. Each formation has a primary signal officer and a backup, redundancy in case someone falls or fails. You have rehearsed with these men, eaten with them, learned their faces and their fears. Now you will send them into violence. The sun is approaching its highest point, and you begin the final countdown procedure. You signal your deputy Darius with the bronze mirror, flashing 3 times, the code for 1 hour. He acknowledges with his own mirror flash. Then you signal each of your 8 formation leaders in sequence, receiving acknowledgement from each. The system works. The light bounces perfectly. No clouds, no dust storms, clear line of sight. The gods are with you today, or perhaps they simply do not care. You drink the last of your water and refill the skin from a supply cart. Hydration is crucial. You cannot afford to faint or even feel dizzy during the critical moments. Your stomach churns with nervous energy, but you ignore it. Physical discomfort is irrelevant now. Only the sun matters. Only the timing. In the distance, you can see the Greek lines more clearly now. They have formed their phalanx, that famous wall of shields and spears that has broken so many Persian attacks. Today will be different, your commanders have promised. Today, you have superior numbers and better coordination. Today, the flanking attack will crush them. But only if the timing is perfect. Only if you do your job exactly right. You check your horn again, bringing it to your lips and blowing a soft test note. The sound is clear and strong, carrying across the morning air. Good. Everything is ready. Now comes the hardest part, waiting for that final hour to pass, watching the sun crawl toward its zenith, knowing that soon you will give the signals that send men to their deaths. 30 minutes. The sun has entered what you call the danger zone, that final approach to zenith when small errors in judgment become magnified. You plant your feet and begin the most important observation of the day. Your father taught you to use your own body as a measuring instrument. If you stand facing south, arms outstretched, fingers splayed, the sun's position relative to your fingertips tells you exactly how close to zenith it is. Right now, it is approximately 2 finger widths from the center point, roughly 25 to 30 minutes. But you cannot rely on a single method. You cross-check with the shadow stick. The shadow is shortening rapidly now, pulling toward the staff's base. You also note the sun's reflection in your mirror, the angle of light hitting your position, the color of the sky. At true zenith, the sky achieves a particular shade of deep blue that your father called battle blue. All of these indicators must align. Around you, the camp has fallen into an eerie quiet. Men stand in their formations, weapons ready, waiting. The silence is broken only by the occasional clink of bronze, the stamp of a nervous horse, the low murmur of final prayers. You can feel the weight of their anticipation, their fear, their trust in you to give the signal at precisely the right moment. Darius approaches one more time. "Should I position myself at the signaling station?" he asks. You nod. He is your backup. If something happens to you, if you are struck by a stray arrow or faint from heat stroke, he must be ready to take over instantly. He jogs to his position, and you are glad to see he is moving efficiently, professionally. Perhaps he will survive today. Perhaps you both will. You perform one more mirror check with all 8 formations. 8 flashes of acknowledgement come back. The system is functioning perfectly. Every man knows his role. Every signal officer is in position. The entire left flank of the Persian army is now synchronized to your observations, to your judgment, to your ability to read the sun. The responsibility should crush you, but instead, you feel a strange calm settling over your shoulders. This is your purpose. You were made for this moment. 15 minutes. The sun is now 1 finger width from zenith. Your heart pounds so hard you can hear blood rushing in your ears. This is when you must make the calculation that decides everything. Do you signal early and risk the center being unsupported, or do you wait for perfect zenith and risk being late, allowing the Greeks time to reposition? Your training says wait for zenith. Your instinct screams to signal now, get it over with, release this crushing tension. You close your eyes for 3 heartbeats, centering yourself. When you open them, your mind is clear. You will wait. You will be precise. That is the discipline your father beat into you during 10,000 training sessions. Precision is everything. Precision is what separates victory from slaughter. You raise your left hand, signaling to Darius and all formation leaders. Prepare. Signal imminent. 8 mirror flashes acknowledge. You can imagine the ripple of tension passing through your 2,000 soldiers as their officers relay the message. Weapons are hefted, shields are raised, prayers are whispered quickly, urgently. Some men will never see another sunset. You force yourself not to think about that. The shadow stick's shadow has nearly disappeared, pulled tight to the base. The sun is almost directly overhead, creating that peculiar flat light where everything seems suspended, shadowless, timeless. You raise the horn to your lips, ready. Your right hand grips the signal flag. You are a mechanism now, a human clock, an instrument designed for this single purpose. The world narrows to 3 things: the sun's position, your shadow stick, and the horn at your lips. Nothing else exists. Not the Greeks, not your fear, not the thousands of lives depending on you. Only the sun, creeping toward its zenith at a speed that seems both agonizingly slow and terrifyingly fast. Your entire life has led to this moment. All your training, all your father's preparation, all your ancestors' legacy of perfect timing. Everything converges on the next 5 minutes. The moment arrives. The sun reaches its zenith. You feel it rather than see it, some instinct developed through years of training. The shadow stick's shadow has contracted to almost nothing. The sky has achieved that particular shade of battle blue. Every indicator aligns. This is the moment. This is exactly the time. You blow the horn. The sound explodes across the plain, a deep, resonant blast that carries for miles. One long note, the first signal. Prepare to advance. You see your formation leaders respond instantly, their own horns echoing yours in a cascading wave of sound. The Persian left flank lurches into motion, 2,000 soldiers stepping forward as one organism. You wait exactly 15 heartbeats. You have practiced this count so many times you could do it in your sleep. Then you blow the second signal, 2 short blasts. Close ranks. The formations tighten, shields locking together, spears lowering into attack position. The sound of men moving in unison creates a low rumble, like distant thunder. Dust begins to rise from thousands of tramping feet. Now comes the critical part. You must wait precisely the time it takes the sun to move 1 hand width, approximately 15 minutes, before giving the final charge signal. During this time, the center divisions should be engaging the Greeks, drawing their attention and forces forward. Your flank will then crash into their exposed side, collapsing their line, but only if your timing is perfect. Signal too early, and you charge into an alert, prepared enemy. Signal too late, and your center is slaughtered while you watch. You force yourself to breathe slowly. Your hand trembles on the horn, not from fear now, but from the sheer physical tension of holding position for 15 minutes while battle rages nearby. In the distance, you hear the first clash of the center divisions hitting the Greek line. The terrible grinding roar of bronze on bronze, wood splintering, men screaming. Your soldiers hear it too, and they shift nervously, wanting to charge, to join the fight, to release their pent-up energy. But they hold, because you have not given the signal. 5 minutes into the 15-minute wait, and the sounds of battle from the center are becoming horrific. The clash of weapons has resolved into individual screams, war cries, the wet sounds of bronze cutting flesh. Your soldiers are getting more restless. You can see it in their formations, small shifts, men leaning forward, officers having to gesture them back into position. They want to help their comrades. They want to release their fear into violence. You understand. You feel the same pull. But you cannot signal early. Discipline, precision. Your father's voice echoes. An early signal is worse than no signal. It reveals the trap before it is ready. The Greeks are not stupid. If your flank charges too soon, they will see you coming and reposition their reserves. The entire strategy depends on them being fully committed to the center fight when you strike. You check the sun's position again. It has moved perhaps half a hand width. Roughly 7 or 8 minutes have passed. 8 more minutes to go. It feels like an eternity. You glance at Darius at his station. He is watching you intently, ready to take over if you fall. You give him a small nod, a gesture of acknowledgement, of shared burden. The Greek line is holding better than expected. Through the dust and chaos, you can see their phalanx maintaining formation, that disciplined wall of bronze not breaking despite the Persian center's furious assault. Your commander's plan is working. The Greeks are committing everything to holding the center. Their flanks are thinning as they reinforce the middle. Perfect, exactly as predicted, but only if you time this correctly. A runner arrives at your position, stumbling up the rise, gasping. He is from the center divisions, his tunic torn, blood on his face. The commander asks when the flanks will attack. He shouts over the battle noise. You look at him coldly. When the sun tells me to, you reply, then turn your back on him. The runner curses and stumbles away. You have no time for questions. You have only the sun, the shadow stick, and your count. 10 minutes. You are deep into the wait now, and the battle sounds have changed. The initial clash has evolved into sustained, grinding combat. Men are dying in large numbers now. You can tell by the way the roar has become continuous rather than rhythmic. The Persian center is taking heavy casualties. The runner's desperate question echoes in your mind. But you cannot signal early. You cannot. Your formations are fraying at the edges. Some soldiers are starting to shift out of position, drawn by the carnage, by the desperate human need to help comrades in trouble. You signal frantically to your formation leaders. Hold position! Wait for signal! They acknowledge and begin shouting at their men, shoving soldiers back into line. Discipline holds, but barely. You are asking them to do something unnatural, to stand idle while their brothers are slaughtered. The sun continues its slow descent from zenith. You measure again, 3/4 of a hand width travelled. Maybe 3 or 4 minutes remaining. You can do this. You can hold them for 3 more minutes. Your mouth is bone dry despite the water you drank. You notice something troubling in the distant Greek line. They are starting to look toward their flanks, officers pointing. They are anticipating a flanking maneuver. Of course they are. They are not fools. They know the Persian tactics. But do they know when? Are they spreading their reserves too soon? Or are they waiting, ready to counter your charge? You cannot know. You can only trust the plan, trust your timing, trust that 15 minutes is exactly right. Darius signals you with mirror flashes. Center divisions in trouble. Request early signal? You flash back. Negative. Hold for full duration. His mirror flashes acknowledgement, but you can imagine his fear, his doubt. You feel it too. What if you are wrong? What if 15 minutes is too long? What if the center breaks before you charge? The entire battle could be lost because you adhered too strictly to timing. But no, you thrust the doubt away. Trust the system. Trust your training. Trust the sun. 14 minutes. One more minute. 60 heartbeats. You plant your feet and force yourself to stop pacing. This is it, the final countdown. You raise the horn to your lips and begin the count internally. 1, 2, 3. In the distance, the Persian center is buckling. You can see it now. The Greek phalanx is pushing forward, their disciplined advance creating gaps in the Persian line. They are 30 seconds from breaking, 30 seconds from routing, 30 seconds from turning this battle into a massacre. 20, 21, 22. Your formation leaders are looking at you desperately now, mirrors flashing urgent queries. You ignore them. Hold the count. Trust the system. Your father's face appears in your mind, his stern voice. In battle, a minute feels like an hour, but an hour of preparation makes the minute perfect. Count. Always count. 40, 41, 42. The Greek line is definitely advancing now, sensing victory. Persian soldiers in the center are beginning to fall back, step by step, their formation fragmenting. If they break before you signal, the battle is lost. Everything is lost. Your count becomes a desperate prayer. Please hold. Please survive. Just 20 more seconds. 50, 51, 52. The sun has moved exactly one hand width. 15 minutes have passed. This is the moment. This is the mathematically perfect time. You draw the deepest breath of your life, feeling your lungs expand fully, feeling the weight of 2,000 lives in that breath. 60. You blow the third signal, 3 long, urgent blasts. Charge! The sound explodes from your horn with every ounce of air in your body. Your formation leaders echo it instantly, and the sound ripples across half a mile of terrain. 3 blasts, 3 blasts, 3 blasts, repeated by 8 separate horns, each commanding roughly 250 screaming soldiers. Your entire left flank erupts into motion, an avalanche of bronze and fury crashing toward the exposed Greek flank. You drop the horn and grab the signal flag, waving it frantically in the charge pattern. Large, sweeping circles, visible to all. The roar of 2,000 men charging is indescribable, a physical force that hits you in the chest. The ground actually trembles. Dust rises in a massive cloud. Everything becomes chaos, violence, momentum. Your job is not finished. Even as your soldiers charge across the plain toward the Greek flank, you must continue coordinating. The charge is not a simple straight line. It must hit the Greek position at the exact right angle and timing to avoid friendly fire from your own center divisions. You signal to your rearmost formations to angle their charge slightly north, preventing them from overrunning the advancing front formations. Perfect coordination requires constant adjustment. You watch through the dust and chaos as your attack develops. Your first formations are covering the distance rapidly. Trained soldiers can cross 200 yards of clear ground in under 30 seconds when charging. The Greeks have seen you now. You can tell by the sudden shift in their line, officers screaming orders, men trying to turn and face the new threat. But they are too slow. They are caught with their shields facing forward toward the Persian center, their flanks exposed. The collision happens. Even from your distant position, you hear it. A sound like the world breaking, bronze smashing into flesh, wood splintering, men screaming. Your front formations hit the Greek flank like a hammer blow, and their perfect phalanx formation crumples. The disciplined wall becomes individual struggling clusters. The tactic is working. The timing was perfect. But you cannot celebrate. You must coordinate the follow-up. You signal your reserve formations. Advance and envelop. They surge forward, moving to wrap around the Greek position, completing the encirclement. You signal your centermost formations. Turn and reinforce center. They pivot, attacking toward the Greek center from the side, relieving pressure on your struggling comrades. Darius runs up to you, his face flushed with excitement. "It worked," he shouts. "Your timing, it was perfect. The Greeks never saw it coming." You nod curtly, not allowing yourself relief yet. The charge has succeeded, but battles are not won in the first moments. Men can rally, lines can reform. The Greeks are not defeated, only disrupted. There is still work to do. The battle enters its brutal middle phase, and your role shifts from precise timing to continuous adjustment. A signal officer's job is never complete until victory is secured or retreat is ordered. You watch as the Greek line begins to collapse under the combined pressure of frontal assault and flanking attack. Their famed phalanx, so impenetrable when properly formed, is torn apart by forces coming from multiple angles. But the Greeks are not surrendering. They are professional soldiers, disciplined and fierce. Small clusters of them form defensive circles, shields locked together, spears facing outward in all directions. These hedgehog formations are difficult to break without taking heavy casualties. You signal your formations to bypass these strongpoints and continue pushing toward the Greek command area. No need to waste men on stubborn defenders when you can collapse their leadership structure instead. You notice something concerning. Your leftmost formation is advancing too quickly, getting ahead of the others, creating a dangerous salient that could be cut off. You immediately signal them. Slow advance, align with adjacent unit. The formation leader acknowledges, and you see his unit reduce speed, allowing the line to even out. This is the kind of constant micro-adjustment that prevents victory from turning into disaster. The sun has moved noticeably from zenith now. Perhaps 30 minutes have passed since your charge signal. The battle has progressed from coordinated attack into chaotic melee, but your formations are maintaining their cohesion better than the Greeks. Your continuous signaling is keeping them organized, directed, purposeful. This is what separates disciplined armies from mobs. A wounded soldier staggers up to your position, one of your own signal officers from the third formation. His left arm dangles uselessly, blood soaking his tunic. "Reporting," he gasps. "Third formation, penetrated Greek center. Advancing toward their commanders. Require, reinforce." He collapses. You signal for medics and immediately order your nearest reserve unit to reinforce the third formation. The breakthrough must be exploited. An hour into battle, and the outcome is becoming clear. The Greek line has fractured into multiple disconnected clusters, each fighting desperately, but with no overall coordination. Your flanking attack has succeeded beyond expectations. The perfect timing allowed your forces to hit when the Greeks were most vulnerable, most committed elsewhere, least able to respond. Your father would be proud. But the cost has been severe. As battle reports filter back to your position, you learn the casualties. Your 8 formations began the day with 2,047 soldiers. Now, perhaps 1,500 remain combat effective. 500 dead or wounded in 1 hour of fighting. Each number represents a man you knew, a soldier you trained with, someone's son or father or husband. You force yourself not to think about this. The battle is not over. You notice the Greek command banners in the distance beginning to move rearward, a retreat. They are attempting to disengage and fall back to more defensible positions. You cannot allow this. A retreating army that remains organized can regroup and fight another day. You need complete victory, total destruction of their ability to resist. You signal all formations. Pursue aggressively, no quarter for armed soldiers. Accept surrender but maintain pressure. Your formations respond, their exhaustion temporarily forgotten in the prospect of victory. They surge forward again, pressing the Greek retreat hard, turning it from organized withdrawal into chaotic flight. The Greeks are breaking. You can see it in how they move, no longer maintaining defensive cohesion, but running, throwing down shields to move faster, abandoning wounded comrades. The famous Greek discipline has shattered. Darius appears at your side again, and you realize you have not thought about him in nearly an hour. He looks shocked, traumatized. His first battle has exposed him to violence he never imagined in training. "Is it always like this?" he asks quietly. You look at him and see your younger self in his eyes. "Yes," you reply simply. "This is what war actually is. Not the songs, not the glory. Just this." He nods slowly, understanding settling over him like a weight. By late afternoon, the battle is effectively over. The Greek forces have been shattered, scattered across miles of terrain in full retreat. Your role has transitioned from combat coordination to pursuit management, ensuring your formations do not chase too far, do not outrun their supply lines, do not fall into ambushes by regrouping Greek remnants. These final hours require as much discipline as the initial attack. You call your surviving formation leaders to your position for assessment. 6 of the original 8 appear. 2 were killed in the fighting, their duties assumed by deputies. These men are covered in blood and gore, their armor dented and scratched, their eyes carrying that 1,000-yard stare of soldiers who have seen too much. You brief them quickly. Maintain pursuit for 1 more hour, then establish defensive perimeter for the night. Treat enemy wounded who surrender. Collect our dead for proper cremation. Secure all captured equipment and prisoners. The commander's staff arrives at your position, led by that same gravel-voiced senior officer who questioned you this morning. It feels like years ago. He dismounts from his horse and approaches. You salute, exhausted. He studies you for a long moment, then does something unexpected. He salutes back, not the perfunctory acknowledgement of rank, but a full, formal salute of respect. "Your timing was flawless," he says. The Greek flank collapsed exactly when it needed to. The center divisions were 30 seconds from routing when your charge hit. 30 seconds. You held the line between victory and catastrophe. He reaches into his saddlebag and pulls out a bronze armband, a signal officer's commendation rarely awarded. He hands it to you. Your father would be proud. You maintained his legacy. You accept the armband, feeling its weight. It seems absurdly light compared to what it represents. 500 of your soldiers dead so that this attack could succeed at the mathematically perfect moment. Was it worth it? The officer seems to read your thoughts. "Yes," he says quietly. "It was worth it. You saved thousands by sacrificing hundreds. That is the burden of command." He remounts and rides away, leaving you with your thoughts and your ghosts. Evening settles over the battlefield, bringing cooler air and the grim task of counting cost. You walk through your section's aftermath with Darius, inspecting the positions your soldiers fought from, collecting reports from survivors, ensuring the wounded receive treatment. The reality of what 500 casualties means becomes visceral now. These are not numbers, but faces, names, stories cut short. You find the body of one of your formation leaders, a veteran named Parsa, who had served with your father. He is lying on his back, eyes still open, staring at the darkening sky. A Greek spear had punched through his bronze armor and into his chest. Death would have been quick, at least. You close his eyes gently and say a prayer to Ahura Mazda for his soul's journey. Parsa had 2 sons in the infantry. You will have to write to his family, explain that his death served purpose, that the timing was perfect. The words feel hollow even as you compose them mentally. Darius is struggling. You can see it in how he moves, how he avoids looking at the dead, how his hands shake when he helps wounded soldiers. This is the part they do not prepare you for in training. The weight of human cost, the faces of the dead, the responsibility of sending men to die. You pull him aside. "Listen to me," you say, gripping his shoulder. "Today you did your duty. The signals were perfect. The timing saved the battle. Many men died, yes, but many more lived because we did our jobs correctly. If we had failed, if I had signaled early or late, if you had not maintained your position, if our system had broken, then everyone would have died. The entire center, the entire left flank, thousands more. Instead, we won. That is what matters." He looks at you, wanting to believe, wanting the words to make it better. "How do you carry this?" he asks. You are silent for a long moment, then answer honestly. "I don't know yet. Ask me in a year." It is not the inspiring response he wanted, but it is true, and truth is all you have to offer right now. Night falls completely, and the Persian camp transforms into a landscape of small fires and quiet voices. The victory celebration is muted. Too many men are missing for there to be true joy. Soldiers sit around fires, sharing stories of the fallen, drinking wine rations, processing what they survived. You sit with your remaining formation leaders, listening to their reports, ensuring everyone who needs medical attention receives it, organizing watch rotations for the night. "How did you know?" one of them asks. "How did you know the exact right moment to signal? It felt like forever, standing there, waiting, watching the center get slaughtered. I almost signaled early myself, almost took the decision from you. How did you hold?" You consider the question. How did you know? Training, yes. Experience, yes. But something else, too. Some instinct developed over years of obsessive practice. Some connection between your body and the sun's movement that is almost mystical. "I didn't know," you finally admit. "I trusted the system my father taught me. I trusted the count. And I was terrified the entire time that I was wrong." The admission of fear surprises them. They expected certainty, confidence, the unshakable resolve of a perfect signal officer. Instead, you gave them honesty. After a moment, one of them laughs, a short, bitter bark. "Terrified but perfect anyway. That's even more impressive." The others nod agreement. They understand now that courage is not the absence of fear, but functioning perfectly despite it. Later that night, unable to sleep despite your exhaustion, you find yourself walking to the highest point of the camp, looking out over the dark plain where the battle occurred. The moon has risen, nearly full, casting everything in silver-blue light. You can see the battlefield below, scattered equipment gleaming in moonlight, bodies awaiting morning cremation, the distant Greek camp where surrender negotiations are probably occurring. You think about time, about how the entire course of history hung on your ability to read the sun's position accurately. 15 minutes, 900 seconds, was the difference between victory and catastrophe. If you had signaled 5 minutes early, the Greeks would have been ready and your attack would have failed. If you had signaled 5 minutes late, the Persian center would have broken and the entire army would have routed. But you signaled at exactly the right second and an empire's expansion continued. This is what your life has been building towards since age 7, when your father first taught you to measure shadows. Every morning spent watching sunrises, every afternoon calculating some positions, every evening memorizing the sequences of signals. All of it culminated in those few seconds when you blew the charge signal. Your entire existence justified in one perfect moment of timing. But what about tomorrow? And the day after? Will there be another battle? Will you be required to perform this miracle again? Can you? The thought terrifies you more than the battle did. Today was perfect, but perfection is not repeatable. It is lightning in a bottle, a moment of grace. What if next time you fail? You hear footsteps behind you. Darius has followed you up here. He stands beside you in silence for a while, both of you looking at the moonlit battlefield. I thought signal officers had the safest job in the army, he finally says. You laugh quietly, bitterly. So did I, you reply. Then I realize we carry more responsibility than anyone else. Generals make the strategy, we make it happen. On time, exactly, or everyone dies. Morning arrives too soon, bringing with it the administrative aftermath of battle. You are summoned to the command tent for a full debriefing. Inside, the senior officers are analyzing the battle, determining what worked and what needs improvement for future engagements. Maps are spread across tables, covered with markers showing troop movements. Scribes record every detail for historical records and future training. You present your report, timing of each signal, response time of each formation, casualties by unit, equipment lost or captured, recommendations for improvements. The officers listen intently, occasionally asking questions about specific moments. When you describe the 15-minute wait between advance and charge signals, one general interrupts. That felt too long from the center. Men were dying. We sent a runner asking you to attack early. Why did you refuse? You meet his eyes directly. Because early would have failed, sir. The Greeks were watching their flanks. They were ready for a flanking attack. We needed them fully committed to the center before we struck. 15 minutes was calculated to be the precise moment when they would be unable to respond effectively. You pause. 500 of my men died in that 15 minutes. I sent them anyway because the timing required it. But 3,000 Greeks died in the next hour because of that same timing. The mathematics favored the decision. The tent falls silent. Reducing battle to mathematics sounds cold, calculated, inhuman. But it is true. War is numbers, force ratios, timing windows, casualty exchanges. Your job was to execute the mathematics perfectly. You did. Men died, but fewer than would have died otherwise. The general nods slowly. Your father trained you well. You think like a signal officer should, in seconds and sun angles, not emotions and fear. He turns to the other officers. This is the standard. Every signal officer in the army should study this engagement. Perfect timing, perfect discipline, perfect results despite perfect terror. Dismissed with honors. You salute and exit, feeling oddly empty. Dismissed with honors. 500 dead. Perfect timing. The words swirl in your mind like sand in wind, never settling into meaning. Over the following days, as the army consolidates its victory and prepares to continue the campaign, you discover something unexpected. Fame. Word of your perfect timing has spread throughout the entire Persian force. Soldiers point at you when you walk through the camp. Junior signal officers ask for training advice. Veterans nod respect when you pass. You have become, without intending it, a symbol of precision and discipline. This brings both benefits and burdens. The benefits are obvious. Better food rations, choice of position in the march order, access to senior officers, increased pay. The burden is more subtle but heavier. Everyone now expects perfection from you. Every signal you give is watched and analyzed. Every timing decision is questioned and studied. You cannot be human anymore. You must be a machine, a clock, infallible. Darius, now officially your permanent deputy after proving himself in battle, tries to lighten your mood. "You should enjoy this," he says one evening, as you prepare equipment for the next day's march. When was the last time a signal officer became famous? Usually we are invisible. Everyone remembers the generals and heroes, but who remembers the man who blew the horn at the right second? You smile slightly. "I never wanted to be famous. I wanted to be competent. There is a difference." You think about your father, whose career was defined by solid, reliable, unremarkable competence over 30 years. 3 battles coordinated perfectly, yes, but also hundreds of marches organized, thousands of signals given correctly, decades of unglamorous precision. That was the standard you aspired to, not glory, not fame, just reliable excellence. But fame has found you anyway, and you must carry it along with everything else. The memories of the dead, the responsibility of future battles, the weight of expectations. You are 23 years old, and already you feel ancient. You wonder if this is how all soldiers feel after their first major battle. Suddenly older than their years, carrying weight invisible to those who were not there. 2 weeks after the battle, the army receives new orders. Advance north toward another Greek city-state. This means another battle is likely, which means your services will be required again. The anticipation brings back all the anxiety you thought you had mastered. Can you replicate the perfection? Was the previous battle luck or skill? The questions consume you during sleepless nights. Your training intensifies. You spend hours each day practicing timing sequences, calibrating your internal clock against the sun's movement, rehearsing signals until your arms ache. Darius practices with you, learning not just the techniques, but the mindset. How to shut out fear, how to trust mathematics over instinct, how to function as an instrument rather than a person. You are creating your successor, preparing him to carry the burden when you inevitably fail or fall. The army's chief signal officer summons you to his tent. He is an elderly man, scarred and bent, with 35 years of service. "I have heard about your performance," he says. "Flawless timing under pressure. Your father's son, indeed." He studies you for a moment. "But I want to know, how are you handling it? The fame, the expectations, the knowledge that men died following your signals." The question catches you off guard. You expected praise or new orders, not concern for your mental state. You hesitate, then answer honestly. "I carry it, sir. I do not know if I carry it well, but I carry it. The dead haunt my sleep. The responsibility terrifies me. The expectations feel crushing. But I will do my duty again when required. What choice do I have?" He nods slowly. That is the correct answer, though perhaps not the healthy one. Remember this, young officer. Perfection is a moment, not a state. You achieved it once, you may achieve it again, but you will also fail sometimes, because you are human. When that failure comes, and it will come, do not let it destroy you. Learn, adapt, continue. That is how you serve for 35 years, instead of dying young from the pressure. His words should comfort you, but instead they terrify you more. Failure, the thought of failing, of signaling at the wrong moment, of causing defeat through imperfect timing. It is worse than death. Death is clean, final. Failure is living with the knowledge that you were not good enough when it mattered most. The march north takes 3 days, during which you have too much time to think. You walk with your section, watching your soldiers, seeing the ones who died as ghostly shadows among the living. Parser should be there, commanding the third formation. Instead, his son carries his father's shield, too young for the burden but determined to honor his family legacy. You watch the boy, barely 18, and wonder if he will survive the next battle, or if you will be writing another letter to a grieving family. Darius walks beside you, attempting conversation to distract you from your thoughts. "Tell me about your father," he asks. "What was he like as a signal officer? Did he feel this way before battles?" You consider the question. Your father was many things: demanding, precise, cold sometimes, but never anxious. He approached timing with the calm certainty of someone who had done it so many times that doubt was impossible. "He was different," you finally answer. He had performed the task so often that it became automatic, muscle memory, instinct. "I am still conscious of every decision, every calculation. Maybe after 20 years, 30 years, it will become automatic for me too. Or maybe I will die before I reach that point." The morbid thought escapes before you can censor it. Darius looks troubled. "You should not talk like that. You are the best signal officer in the army. Everyone says so. Your timing was perfect." You stop walking and turn to face him directly. "Perfect once. Once, Darius. What if that was my moment of grace, and everything after is decline? What if I got lucky with clear weather and good visibility, and next time we have clouds or dust storms? What if my internal clock was right that day, but wrong every day after?" Your deputy has no answer to this. How can he? He is still young enough to believe in reliable heroes, in consistent excellence, in the possibility of repeated perfection. You were that young 3 weeks ago. Now you know better. Perfection is lightning in a bottle, and bottles break. The army reaches the outskirts of the target city by evening of the third day. Scouts report that the Greeks are preparing defensive positions, expecting the attack. Tomorrow, or perhaps the day after, you will be required to coordinate another assault. The familiar anxiety returns, settling into your chest like a stone. You cannot eat dinner. You can barely drink water. Your entire body feels wrong, disconnected, as if you are watching yourself from outside. That night, you dream of the battle. But in the dream, everything goes wrong. You signal too early, and the Greeks massacre your charging soldiers. You wake, gasping, heart pounding. You signal too late, and the Persian center breaks, the entire army routing. You wake, gasping, heart pounding. You signal at the perfect moment, but your horn makes no sound. Your flags are invisible. Nobody responds. You wake, gasping, heart pounding. The nightmares cycle endlessly until you give up on sleep entirely. You walk through the camp in darkness, finding yourself at the horse picket. The animals are restless, sensing the coming battle. You stroke one's nose, finding comfort in the simple animal warmth, the uncomplicated nature of a creature that does not measure time or carry responsibility. The horse nuzzles your hand, seeking treats. You smile despite yourself, perhaps the first genuine smile in weeks. "Cannot sleep either?" a voice asks from the darkness. You turn to find the chief signal officer standing nearby, watching you. "The night before battle is always the hardest," he continues. "The waiting, the anticipation, the knowledge that tomorrow requires perfection. I have experienced it hundreds of times. It never gets easier, but you learn to function despite it." You talk with him for hours, there in the darkness among the horses. He tells you stories of battles fought over 3 decades, the successes and failures, the lessons learned. He teaches you breathing techniques for controlling fear, mental exercises for maintaining focus, practical tricks for functioning under extreme pressure. Most importantly, he tells you about his failures, the times he signaled wrong, the battles lost, the men who died because of his mistakes, and how he survived those failures, learned from them, continued serving. Dawn arrives, bringing with it the day of battle. You feel slightly more centered after the night's conversation, though the fear has not disappeared, it has simply become manageable. You perform your morning preparations with mechanical efficiency, checking equipment, meeting with formation leaders, establishing your command post, calibrating shadow sticks. The familiar routine is comforting, a structure to cling to amid chaos. The battle plan is similar to the previous engagement. Center divisions attack, drawing Greek attention, then flanking attacks collapse their position. Your section will coordinate the right flank this time, a slightly different tactical situation, but the same fundamental challenge: perfect timing. The sun's position at attack will be mid-morning rather than noon, requiring different calculations. You have practiced mid-morning attacks hundreds of times in training. You can do this. But then, something happens that you did not anticipate. Clouds. Not solid overcast, but intermittent clouds drifting across the sky, periodically obscuring the sun. Your primary timing method, direct sun observation, becomes unreliable. Your backup methods, shadow sticks, internal counting, must now carry the full weight. The stone in your chest grows heavier. You were prepared for a repeat of the perfect conditions from last battle. Instead, the gods have given you difficulty. Darius notices immediately. "What do we do?" he asks, trying to keep panic from his voice. You force yourself to think, to apply training rather than surrender to fear. "We adapt," you reply with more confidence than you feel. Shadow sticks become primary, count becomes verification. We can do this. The principles are the same regardless of method. You call your formation leaders together and brief them on the change. Attack will be initiated when the shadow stick measures exactly 3 hand widths, a mid-morning position you have calibrated precisely. They will watch for your signal as before, but today they must trust your count more than the visible sun position. They acknowledge understanding, though you can see doubt in their eyes. They are thinking the same thing you are. Last time you had perfect conditions and achieved perfection. Today, conditions are imperfect. Can you still succeed? The battle begins as planned. The Persian center advances and engages the Greek line. But immediately you notice differences from the previous engagement. These Greeks are more prepared, their formations tighter, their discipline stronger. The center attack is not drawing them forward as much as before. They are holding position, refusing to commit fully, clearly aware of the flanking threat. Your tactical situation is more challenging than anticipated. The clouds continue their intermittent passage, making timing calculations difficult. You find yourself relying more heavily on shadow sticks and internal counting than visual sun observation. Every few minutes the sun breaks through, allowing you to verify your calculations. So far, they align. Your count is accurate, but the margin for error has shrunk dramatically. With clouds obscuring the sun periodically, you cannot simply watch the sky. You must feel time passing, trust your training, believe in mathematics when visible confirmation is denied. Your soldiers are restless, more so than last time. They can sense the different conditions, see the clouds, understand that today is harder. Some of them glance at you frequently, seeking reassurance that you know what you are doing. You maintain an expression of absolute confidence, though internally you are recalculating constantly, adjusting for every variable, carrying the weight of their doubt along with your own. The wait time approaches. You have determined that the optimal attack moment will come when the shadow measures 3 hand widths, approximately 30 minutes after the center engagement began. But the Greeks are not cooperating with the tactical assumptions. They are not fully committing to the center fight. If you wait for the mathematically perfect moment, you might miss the tactically optimal moment. This is the nightmare scenario, when mathematics and reality diverge, requiring judgment rather than simple calculation. Darius stands beside you, watching your face, waiting for your decision. You realize this moment is different from last time. Last time, you simply executed a plan under perfect conditions. This time, you must make choices, adapt, lead. This is what separates a good signal officer from a great one. The ability to adjust when conditions change, to trust instinct informed by training, rather than blindly following procedures. The moment arrives, not the mathematically perfect moment you planned, but the tactically necessary moment reality has given you. The Greeks are starting to shift reserves toward their flanks, anticipating your attack. If you wait longer, you lose the element of surprise. If you attack now, you are 5 minutes early by your calculations, but the tactical window is closing. This is judgment. This is leadership. This is terror. You make the decision. You raise the horn and blow the charge signal. 3 long blasts. Not the graduated sequence you used last time, but an immediate full charge. The tactical situation requires speed over careful coordination. Your formation leaders respond instantly, and 2,000 soldiers surge forward in a massive wave. The decision is made. The die is cast. Now you will learn if you chose correctly. The charge unfolds in real time, and you watch with mounting anxiety as your soldiers cross the open ground toward the Greek flank. They are exposed, vulnerable, running toward an enemy that saw them coming. If you made the wrong choice, they will be slaughtered. The seconds stretch like hours. Your heart pounds so hard you can hear nothing else. Everything narrows to those running figures and the Greek line waiting to receive them. Impact. Your forces hit the Greek flank at a slightly different angle than planned. The early signal changed the geometry, but they hit hard. The Greek reserves that were moving to reinforce the flank are still 50 yards away, too late to help. Your timing was not perfect, but it was good enough. The flank begins to collapse, slowly at first, then cascading as your soldiers pour through the breach. The battle is not won yet, but it is not lost. Your imperfect judgment has created opportunity. You realize you are shaking, adrenaline flooding your system now that the critical decision is past. Darius is shouting something at you, but you cannot hear over the blood rushing in your ears. You force yourself to focus. The battle continues. You must continue. No time for relief or doubt. You begin signaling follow-up formations, coordinating the exploitation of the breach, functioning mechanically because to stop and think about what just happened would paralyze you. The battle continues for 3 more hours, and your role shifts from crisis timing to sustained coordination. Without perfect conditions, you must rely more on direct communication with formation leaders, adjusting constantly to changing tactical situations. Messengers run back and forth from your command post, carrying updates and new orders. You send reserves where they are needed, redirect attacks toward weak points, coordinate withdrawals from threatened positions. This is command without the luxury of perfect planning, responding, adapting, improvising. By mid-afternoon, the outcome becomes clear. Another Persian victory, though harder won than the last. The Greek forces are in full retreat, their defensive position shattered. But your casualties are higher this time, perhaps 700 dead or wounded from your section, compared to 500 in the previous battle. The imperfect timing, the changed conditions, the tactical adaptations, all of them cost lives. You try not to calculate whether waiting for the perfect moment might have saved those extra 200 men. The thought would drive you insane. The senior officers arrive for assessment, and again you present your report. This time, your explanation includes the adaptations forced by cloud cover, the tactical judgment call to signal early, the real-time adjustments throughout the engagement. The gravel-voiced officer listens carefully, then asks the critical question. Would you make the same decision again, knowing the increased casualties? You consider lying, saying yes without hesitation. But honesty compels a different answer. I do not know, sir. Tactically, the early signal was necessary. The Greeks were anticipating our flank attack and moving to counter it. Waiting longer might have resulted in even higher casualties or outright failure. But I cannot know for certain. I made the best judgment I could with available information. Perhaps with more experience, I would have seen another option. The tent falls silent. This is not the confident assessment they want to hear. Finally, the officer nods. That is the most honest answer any field commander has given me in 30 years. Yes, there was probably a perfect solution we are all too limited to see. But you made a good solution in real time under pressure. The battle was won. Casualties, while regrettable, were acceptable. You adapted well to change conditions. That is all any commander can do. That night, you cannot find peace. The previous battle's nightmares return, but now they include new elements. The clouds obscuring the sun, the early signal decision, the increased casualties. You replay every choice, examining them from every angle, wondering what you could have done differently. The chief signal officer's words echo. You will fail sometimes. Did you fail today? The battle was won, but more men died. Is that success or failure? You find yourself walking the battlefield again, torch in hand, looking at the fallen. 700 from your section. You try to tell yourself that the 200 extra deaths, compared to the previous battle, were unavoidable. The cost of imperfect conditions and tactical necessity. But numbers on a report are one thing, bodies on the ground are another. Each face you see is a judgment of your decisions, a question you cannot answer satisfactorily. Darius finds you among the dead. He does not speak at first, just stands beside you, sharing the burden of witnessing. Finally, he says quietly, "You saved more than you killed. If you had not adapted, if you had waited for perfect timing that was impossible today, the entire attack might have failed. Thousands might have died instead of hundreds. The officers said so." "The officers were not standing on this field," you reply. "They did not make these men run across open ground 5 minutes early because clouds made perfect calculation impossible. I did." You gesture at the bodies around you. "These are my decisions made flesh, or unmade flesh." Darius has no answer for this. How can he? You are wrestling with the fundamental burden of command, the knowledge that your choices directly determine who lives and who dies. Victory is supposed to make this bearable, but it does not. The dead do not care about victory. Their families do not care about tactical necessity. You made a judgment call under pressure, and 200 extra families will receive bodies instead of sons. You remain on the battlefield until dawn, keeping vigil with the dead. It is irrational. They are beyond help, beyond care. But you feel you owe them this. Witness, acknowledgement, the weight of responsibility not hidden behind reports and calculations, but faced directly. By the time the sun rises, you have memorized every face you could find in the darkness. They will join the others in your dreams. When you return to camp, you find a summons waiting. The commander wishes to see you privately. Your stomach clenches. Perhaps they have reconsidered their assessment. Perhaps the increased casualties have been judged as failure after all. You wash quickly and present yourself at the command tent, preparing for judgment. Inside the command tent, you find not the gravel-voiced officer, but the supreme commander himself, Datis, the general who leads the entire Persian expeditionary force. You immediately drop to one knee, fist over heart. He waves you up impatiently. Enough ceremony. I want to talk to you about yesterday's battle, and I want honesty, not what you think I want to hear. You rise, standing at attention, and wait. Datis circles you slowly, studying you like a craftsman examining a tool. You made a judgment call, he says. You signaled early because tactical conditions required it, even though your calculations said to wait. The officers praise this as adaptation. But I want to know, do you regret it? The question is a trap. If you say no, you appear callous about the casualties. If you say yes, you appear to doubt your own judgment. But he asked for honesty, and something in his eyes suggests he genuinely wants it. I regret the necessity, you answer carefully. I wish conditions had been perfect. I wish the clouds had never come. I wish I could have given you victory without those extra deaths. But given the situation as it existed, I made the best decision I could. Whether that is good enough, I do not know. Datis stops circling and faces you directly. That answer reveals more wisdom than you know. A young fool would claim certainty, insist every decision was correct, blame the casualties on fate or the enemy. But you understand the weight of command, that every choice carries cost, and we can never know if another choice might have been better. That understanding will make you either a great officer or a broken one, depending on whether you can carry the weight without being crushed by it. He moves to a map table, studying the battlefield positions. I am promoting you to Chief Signal Officer for the entire expeditionary force. Your predecessor is retiring after 35 years. His body can no longer handle the campaigns. You will coordinate all 4 divisions, manage all signal officers under my command, advise on timing for every major engagement. You are what, 23? 24? Youngest Chief Signal Officer in Persian history. The words hit you like physical blows. Promoted, Chief Officer, entire force. The weight you thought you carried before multiplies 1,000-fold. Your mouth goes dry. Sir, I am not ready. Yesterday I made mistakes. Men died. He cuts you off with a sharp gesture. You made the best decision possible under impossible conditions, and you carry the weight of that decision instead of hiding behind excuses. That is exactly what I need. Not perfection. Perfection is impossible. I need someone who will make the hard choices and then live with them, who will adapt when plans fail, who understands that leadership is not glory, but burden. You have proven you are that person. The position is yours. Accept it. Word of your promotion spreads through the camp within hours. Reactions are mixed. The younger officers are excited. One of their own elevated to supreme command of signals. The veterans are skeptical. Too young, too inexperienced. Promoted too fast on the basis of 2 battles. You understand both perspectives. You share both perspectives. You are simultaneously proud of the recognition and terrified of the responsibility. Your first duty as Chief Signal Officer is to meet with all the divisional signal officers under your command. 23 officers, ranging in age from 19 to 47, each responsible for coordinating hundreds of soldiers. They gather in a large tent, and you see in their eyes the same questions you would have if positions were reversed. Can this young officer lead us? Does he understand what he is doing? Will he get us killed? You do not pretend to be something you are not. I know what you are thinking, you begin. You are wondering if I deserve this position, if I am ready for this responsibility, if you can trust me with your lives and the lives of your soldiers. The answer is, I do not know. I made good decisions in 2 battles under different conditions. That may have been skill or luck or divine favor. I cannot know which until we face more battles together. The tent is silent. This is not the confident speech they expected. You continue. What I can promise is this. I will never pretend to have answers I do not have. I will adapt to conditions as they exist, not as I wish them to be. I will carry the weight of every decision, every casualty, every mistake. And I will never ask you to do anything I am not willing to do myself. That is all I can offer. If that is enough, I will serve you as well as I am able. If not, you shrug. The position is mine regardless. We must make the best of it. After a long moment, one of the older officers, a man whose grey beard marks 30 years of service, speaks. Honesty is rarer than competence in young commanders. You may not be ready for this responsibility, but none of us were when we started. The fact that you know you are not ready suggests you might become ready faster than someone who thought they already were. Others nod agreement. The tension eases slightly. You spend the rest of the day meeting individually with each divisional officer, learning their methods, understanding their concerns, beginning to build the network of trust and communication that will be essential in future battles. By evening, you have a headache from the concentration, and your voice is raw from talking. But you have begun the work, the first steps of a very long journey. The following weeks bring no battles, but endless work. As Chief Signal Officer, you're responsible for standardizing timing methods across all divisions, training new officers to replace casualties, developing contingency plans for various tactical situations, and advising the Supreme Commander on every aspect of battle coordination. The workload is crushing. You sleep 4 hours per night if you are lucky, wake before dawn, work until well after dark. Darius becomes your assistant, helping manage the administrative burden. Together, you develop new training protocols, improved signal systems, backup methods for various weather conditions. You draw on your experience with clouds to create multiple redundant timing methods. Sun position, shadow length, water clocks, marked candles, internal counting, star positions. No army should ever be dependent on a single method again. But the real challenge is not technical, it is psychological. You carry the weight of command differently now. Before, you were responsible for 2,000 soldiers in your section. Now, you are responsible for coordinating 40,000 soldiers across 4 divisions. The mathematics of responsibility have become absurd. If you make a mistake in timing, thousands could die instead of hundreds. The nightmares intensify, becoming more elaborate, more detailed, more horrifying. The Chief Medical Officer notices your deterioration. He pulls you aside one evening and examines you, checking your eyes, your pulse, asking questions about sleep and appetite. His diagnosis is blunt. You are destroying yourself. The human body and mind are not designed to carry this level of stress indefinitely. You will either learn to manage it or you will collapse. I have seen it before with young commanders promoted too fast. They burn like torches, bright and brief. He teaches you techniques for managing stress, breathing exercises, meditation practices, physical training to exhaust the body so the mind can rest, herbal preparations that aid sleep. Most importantly, he teaches you compartmentalization, how to separate the person from the position, to carry duty during duty hours, but set it aside during rest. The burden will always be there, he explains, but you must learn to put it down periodically, or its weight will crush you. You try to follow his advice with mixed success. Setting aside the burden feels like abandoning your duty, but you begin to understand that destroying yourself serves no one. A broken Chief Signal Officer is worse than an imperfect but functional one. You must survive to serve. The next battle comes 3 weeks after your promotion. The army engages a coalition of Greek city-states that have massed a defensive force of unprecedented size. This is not a flanking operation, but a massive frontal assault across open terrain, the most difficult type of engagement to coordinate. Your role is to synchronize the advance of 4 divisions totaling 40,000 soldiers, ensuring they hit the enemy lines simultaneously across a 3-mile front. The timing windows are measured in seconds. Error means disaster. The night before battle, you meet with all divisional signal officers for final coordination. The plan is complex. Each division advances in 3 waves at precisely timed intervals. The waves designed to maintain pressure without bunching up or spreading too thin. The entire sequence must unfold over 45 minutes, with each wave precisely 15 minutes apart. You will coordinate from a central observation post, using mirror signals to command officers on your flanks who cannot see you directly. It is the most ambitious signal coordination ever attempted by the Persian army. You go through the sequence repeatedly, answering questions, addressing concerns, ensuring every officer understands not just their specific role, but how it fits into the larger whole. By the end of the meeting, everyone is confident in the plan. You are not. You can see 1,000 things that could go wrong. Miscommunication, equipment failure, enemy action, weather, terrain, simple human error. But you project confidence because that is what they need from you. That night, you do not sleep at all. You sit outside your tent, watching the stars wheel overhead, practicing the breathing exercises the medical officer taught you. In a few hours, you will either coordinate the largest successful battle operation in Persian history, or you will fail spectacularly and be remembered as the young fool promoted beyond your capability. There is no middle ground. The mathematics of scale ensure that small errors become catastrophic. Perfection is not optional. It is the only acceptable outcome. As dawn approaches, you make peace with the possibility of failure. Not acceptance. You will fight with everything you have to succeed. But acknowledgement that you might not be good enough, that the task might be beyond your capability, that 40,000 lives might be too many for one 23-year-old signal officer to coordinate. If you fail, you will fail while giving everything you have. That is all you can control. The outcome belongs to the gods and mathematics. The battle begins at mid-morning under perfect conditions. Clear sky, good visibility, minimal wind. The gods have given you every advantage. Now you must execute. You stand at your central observation post on a rise that gives you sightlines to all 4 divisions. Beside you, Darius manages the mirror signaling to flanking divisions, while you focus on overall coordination and direct signaling to the 2 central divisions. The first wave advances on your signal. 10,000 soldiers stepping forward in unison across 3 miles of front. The coordination is imperfect. Some sections slightly ahead, others slightly behind, but within acceptable parameters. You make minor adjustments using mirror signals, correcting the deviations, maintaining the line. So far, so good. 15 minutes until the second wave. You measure time using multiple methods simultaneously: shadow stick, water clock, internal count, sun position. All methods must agree before you signal the next wave. Redundancy prevents error. The minutes pass with agonizing slowness. Your first wave engages the Greek line, the sound of collision rolling across the plain like thunder. They are holding position, maintaining pressure, exactly as planned. 13 minutes, 14 minutes, 15 minutes. Second wave advances. 20,000 soldiers now engaged across the entire front. The Greek line begins to show stress, sections bending backward under pressure. But they are not breaking. These are veteran soldiers, well commanded, disciplined. They will hold until you can bring the third wave to bear. 15 more minutes. You force yourself to breathe steadily, to maintain the rhythm, to trust the system. 12 minutes into the wait, something unexpected happens. The Greek left flank counterattacks, pushing forward against your first wave, creating a bulge in the line. If unchecked, this could roll up your entire left division. You must respond immediately. But the third wave is not scheduled for 3 more minutes. Do you signal early to reinforce the threatened section, disrupting the overall timing? Or do you hold the schedule and risk the left flank breaking? This is command. This is the nightmare scenario. Perfect plans meeting imperfect reality. You have 3 minutes to decide, and whatever you choose, thousands of lives hang in the balance. Your mind races through calculations. If you signal early, the third wave hits in uncoordinated fashion, some sections exposed, others bunched. If you wait, the left flank might collapse before reinforcement arrives. There is no good answer, only choices and consequences. You make the decision, you hold the timing. 3 more minutes of discipline, trusting that your left flank commander can hold position that long, believing in the soldier's training and courage. It is agony. You watch through those 3 minutes as the Greek counterattack gains ground, pushing your first wave back step by step. Your officers on the left are signaling urgently for reinforcement. You signal back. Hold. Reinforcement coming. Hold. 2 minutes. The left flank is bending dangerously, the line becoming concave. Greek soldiers are pouring through small breaches, attacking from angles. Your division commander on the left is signaling desperately now. 1 minute and 45 seconds. You can see individual soldiers falling, the formation fragmenting. Hold, hold, hold. 15 minutes. Exactly. You blow the signal for third wave advance. All divisions, full commitment, every reserve thrown forward. 40,000 soldiers now engaged simultaneously across the entire 3-mile front. The mass of men creates a physical force, a human tsunami that hits the Greek line with overwhelming power. Your left flank, on the verge of collapse, suddenly receives 15,000 fresh soldiers who crash into the Greek counterattack from the side. The Greek advance stops, reverses, collapses. The entire enemy line begins to crack, not in one place but everywhere at once. The coordinated pressure of 3 precisely timed waves has achieved what no single assault could accomplish. The Greek formations fragment, discipline breaks, retreat becomes rout. You have done it. The timing was perfect. 40,000 soldiers advanced in 3 waves exactly 15 minutes apart across 3 miles of front, and the coordination was flawless. But you cannot celebrate. You immediately begin signaling pursuit orders, exploitation patterns, ensuring your divisions maintain cohesion during the chase, preventing them from overextending into ambushes or traps. Victory is not complete until the enemy is fully routed and scattered. You function mechanically, implementing the follow-up plans, coordinating for another 2 hours as the Persian army chases the broken Greek forces across 5 miles of terrain. By early afternoon, it is over. The greatest battlefield coordination in Persian military history has been executed perfectly. The Supreme Commander sends a message. Flawless. Report to command tent immediately. You acknowledge the message and continue working, ensuring all divisions establish defensive positions for the night, that wounded are collected, that supplies are distributed. The victory belongs to the commanders and soldiers. You were simply the mechanism that made their courage and skill effective at the right times. That is how you think of it. That is how you must think of it, or the weight would be unbearable. In the command tent that evening, the Supreme Commander and all senior officers stand as you enter, a formal gesture of respect rarely shown to anyone below general rank. The commander approaches and grips your shoulders, looking directly into your eyes. What you accomplish today will be studied by military officers for generations. 4 divisions, 3 waves, perfect timing across 3 miles under combat conditions. I have never seen anything like it. The Persian Empire has never seen anything like it. He pins a gold medallion to your tunic, the star of coordination, the highest honor a signal officer can receive. You have earned this 1,000 times over. Your father would be proud beyond measure. Your name will be remembered alongside the greatest military minds in our history. The assembled officers applaud, stamp their feet in military approval. You accept the honor with proper formality, but inside you feel hollow. Yes, the coordination was perfect. Yes, the timing was flawless. Yes, thousands of lives were saved by precise execution. But you know what they do not. That you almost signaled early during those final 3 minutes. That doubt consumed you. That you succeeded as much through desperate hope as through skill. The perfection they celebrate felt like chaos from inside it. The flawless coordination was achieved by someone who felt constantly on the verge of catastrophic failure. Later, alone in your tent with Darius, you remove the medallion and turn it over in your hands. It is beautiful, gold worked into intricate patterns representing synchronized movement. Your father never received one of these. He coordinated 3 battles perfectly, served for 30 years, trained you to follow his path, but never achieved anything of this scale or recognition. You wonder what he would think of you now. Chief Signal Officer at 23, holder of the Star of Coordination, coordinator of the largest battlefield operation in Persian history. You did it, Darius says quietly. Everything we trained for, everything we worked toward. Perfect execution at impossible scale. You should be proud. You look at him, seeing the admiration in his eyes, the awe. He still believes in heroes, in clean victories, in earned glory. You were that young 3 months ago. Now you know differently. I am grateful we won, you reply. I am grateful the timing worked. I am grateful to have served well. But proud? Pride is for people who can forget the cost. I am a signal officer. We do not forget. We carry every decision, every casualty, every moment when we nearly failed but did not. That is the weight that makes the timing perfect, the knowledge that imperfection means death. I carry that weight. I will carry it until I can no longer serve, or until the weight crushes me. That is what this medallion represents. You set it down on your desk and look at the maps spread there. The next campaign already being planned, the next battle looming, the next coordination challenge waiting. There is no rest for someone who has proven they can carry this burden. The success has not freed you. It has bound you more tightly to duty. You will coordinate battles for years now, perhaps decades if you survive. Each one will require the same perfection, the same impossible discipline, the same weight. Outside, soldiers celebrate victory around campfires, singing songs of glory and triumph. Inside your tent, you and Darius sit in silence, 2 signal officers who understand what victory actually costs. The sun has set. Another day measured, calculated, survived. Tomorrow will require the same, and the day after, and the day after that. This is what it means to be the person who makes armies move at exactly the right time. Not glory, not fame, but endless responsibility measured in heartbeats and sunbeams and the shadows of men who depend on your precision. You stand and walk to the tent opening, looking up at the stars beginning to emerge in the darkening sky. They move in perfect clockwork patterns, neither hurrying nor delaying, indifferent to human struggle below. You have spent your life learning to read their movements, to use them as timing instruments when the sun fails. They have taught you that perfection exists in the universe. But for humans, perfection is only momentary grace achieved through desperate discipline. That is enough. It has to be enough. Because tomorrow the sun will rise again, and someone will need to measure its movement. And you are the person who knows. And so our story ends, not with a grand finale, but with a young man standing under stars, carrying the weight of perfect timing. He coordinated 40,000 soldiers with precision measured in heartbeats. But the medals feel hollow when you know the cost. Tomorrow, the sun rises again. Tomorrow, someone must measure its movement. Tomorrow, armies will need coordination. That is the burden of those who master time. Endless repetition of impossible precision. Each victory buying only the opportunity to attempt perfection again. The ancient world ran on such dedication. Perhaps that is something to think about as you drift into sleep. Good night.